The year is 1952 and you're sitting in the newsroom of the London paper where you work as a reporter when you get the big news. You've been chosen to cover the inaugural flight of the world's first passenger jet airplane. As happy as you are to get this important assignment, you're not exactly thrilled about the idea of taking to the skies. Civilian jet air travel is still a very new and very untested concept, and you're not keen to be a guinea pig. If you had known at that moment that you were about to soar through the skies in the worst aircraft ever, you just might have listened to your gut and stayed on the ground. But when you got your assignment, the world had no idea about the tragic fate that awaited the de Havilland Comet, the world's first commercial jet. Today, we think nothing of hopping on a plane and jetting across the globe on a whim, with more than 2.5 million people traveling on more than 40,000 flights every single day. Traveling by air is nothing exciting these days, but in the years following World War II, the idea of an average civilian ever taking to the skies was nothing short of a pipe dream. Airplanes had only been in use for a few decades, and World War II was the first time that the world saw planes powered by jet engines. When the de Havilland DH-106 Comet was introduced in 1949, it was truly groundbreaking. The world's very first commercial passenger jet airplane would mark the start of the jet age and change the world forever. For the first time, the average person could dream of visiting far-flung destinations and conceive of traveling there by air, a privilege previously reserved only for the extremely wealthy. But the rise of the jet age was anything but a smooth ascent. From its early days, man's quest for mastery of the skies had been marked by tragedy, and the dawn of the age of commercial air travel is no exception. Only a few short years after winning the race to put the first commercial jet into the air, Britain's dreams of dominating the jet age would literally blow apart at the seams. The Comet may have turned out to be the worst aircraft ever, but there's no denying that it changed the course of air travel and history forever. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, you've got a plane to catch. On the big day, you arrive at the airport with a knot in your stomach. To say that you're nervous for your first ever airplane flight would be an understatement, to say the least, and getting your first look at the machine that will hurtle you through the sky is definitely not helping. To take your mind off the nerves, you focus on the job you're here to do. You start talking to other passengers and air industry officials to gather background information and quotes for your article. By the time the first passengers start to board the plane, you will have learned a lot about the engineering marvel that's about to hurl you through the skies, and you'll also have a much better appreciation for what a historic moment this is. You chat with an official from the de Havilland Aircraft Company as you walk around the plane admiring its exterior. With its sleek, modern design and impressive 135-foot wingspan, it truly is beautiful. But you're still having trouble imagining how this giant metal tube is going to manage to stay in the air. Your new friend tells you all about how the Comet came to be and how this 115,000-pound marvel will safely deliver you across the world. De Havilland is the world leader in jet engine technology, he brags. We honed our expertise in the war, and I don't mind telling you that our fighter jets were instrumental to the war effort. And after we won the war, it seemed selfish to not share the wonders of jet technology with the world. After all, if you can trust our planes to win a war, you can certainly trust them to shuttle you around the world in comfort and style. The Comet here runs on 4 powerful de Havilland Ghost Mk1 engines, giving her a cruising speed of 475 miles per hour. That's 100 miles an hour faster than the fastest propeller plane. Mark my words, the Comet will revolutionize travel and change the world. While you have to admire his enthusiasm, you steer the conversation back to the facts and ask him to tell you more about how the Comet is built. Well, I'm glad you asked, he says. It took us 3 years to adapt our exceptional military jet technology to the civilian world and get the Comet air ready. Our first test flight took place on July 29, 1949, which coincidentally happens to be Geoffrey de Havilland's 67th birthday, as well as the birthday of our test pilot, Cat Eyes Cunningham. We weren't the only ones working on this technology, of course. I'm sure you've heard of the American firm Boeing. Yeah, well, I'm happy to say we beat them to the punch that day. What a birthday present, huh? While you're proud to learn that your country won the jet race, a small part of you is worried that this intense pressure to be the first to produce a commercial jet might raise some red flags about safety. It's almost time to board though, and you have more questions for the de Havilland official, so you push your worries aside for now, a decision that will return to haunt you. Instead, you ask him about what's next for the company. Great question, he says. Now that our technology has been proven, we've established ourselves as the world leaders in commercial jet technology. We have to be prepared to meet the inevitable demand for air travel that's coming. And that's why we're currently in the process of building a brand new world-class production facility in Hatfield, England. When it's done, it'll be the world's largest aluminum building with an unsupported span. It's time to board, so you thank him for his time and you head toward the plane, conscious as you climb aboard and enter the cabin that you're making history. The takeoff experience almost destroys your newfound sense of confidence. You find yourself fighting panic as the plane's 4 mighty engines roar just beyond your window, and you have to close your eyes as the plane hurtles down the runway at breakneck speeds before finally, at what seems like the very last second to you, tilting skyward and becoming airborne. You can hardly believe it, you're flying. Too bad you're too busy focusing on holding down your lunch to properly enjoy the moment. Finally, the Comet settles into a comfortable cruising altitude of 40,000 feet, and you're able to calm down enough to take in your surroundings. The interior of the cabin is surprisingly comfortable and well appointed. The chairs are plush and complete with built-in ashtrays, so you can enjoy cigarettes, of course. You're also pleasantly surprised at how quiet the engines are once the plane is cruising. Your seatmate, an experienced flyer, tells you it's much better than the noise and vibration of the old-fashioned propeller planes. By the time you land, despite another harrowing landing experience, you've officially been converted. Flying is the future. Your article about your experience gets a lot of attention, and it would be the first of many pieces you do in the air travel industry, as you carve out a niche for yourself in journalism as the fly guy. That's why a short time later, when rumors of a tragedy involving a comet first start circulating, you're able to quickly get the full gruesome story from your contacts in the airline industry. Apparently, a British Overseas Airway or BOAC Comet 106 taking off from Calcutta, India en route to Delhi crashed just 6 minutes after takeoff. Witnesses to the crash reported that the aircraft appeared to break apart in midair before plummeting to the ground, killing all 43 passengers and crew on board. The story is especially chilling to you not only because the plane was the exact same model that you yourself flew in on your history-making flight, but the crash happened exactly 1 year to the day after that momentous flight. What should have been a happy anniversary became a tragedy. While you're horrified at the thought of an entire plane full of people losing their lives in such a tragic way, you're comforted by the fact that the weather must have been to blame for this fluke accident. A severe tropical storm had hit the area around the time the plane took off, which must have contributed to the crash. Unfortunately, that illusion wouldn't last long. Only a few months later, on January 10, 1954, another eerily similar rumor starts to make the rounds. Another comet has crashed, once again killing everyone on board. This flight was headed to London, but plunged into the Mediterranean Sea near the island of Elba shortly after taking off from Ciampino Airport in Italy. All 35 passengers and crew lost their lives. Because the crash was suspiciously similar to the one back in May, witnesses again reported seeing the plane break apart before plunging into the sea. BOAC temporarily took their fleet of Comets out of service. After covering the second crash, something feels off to you. A single accident is one thing, but two, it can't be a coincidence. Sadly, you don't have to wait long to have your suspicions confirmed. BOAC would unground their fleet of Comets after only 3 months, and on April 8, 1954, just 1 month after BOAC Comet fleet was ungrounded, tragedy would strike again. This time, a South African Airways Comet heading to Cairo from Rome crashed into the Sea of Naples immediately after takeoff, killing all 21 passengers and crew on board. This time, the pattern couldn't be ignored. The Comet's certificate of airworthiness was withdrawn due to the similarities between all 3 crashes, and the entire fleet of Comets were grounded indefinitely. With commercial jet travel surging in popularity in the few short years since your historic flight, everyone was watching the airline industry, and the Comet tragedies were heavily covered all over the world. And yet, rather than scare people away from traveling by air, the popularity of air travel continued to explode in the following years. When humans decided they wanted to master the skies, they couldn't do so without taking some risks along the way. Flying has always been dangerous and has always been marked by tragedy, especially in the early years. But the modern airline industry has learned many important lessons from those tragedies, and as a result, flying is now incredibly safe. In the case of the Comet tragedies, there were plenty of lessons to be learned that would make air travel safe for everyone in the future. The Comet tragedies resulted in an unprecedented investigation into the plane's safety record and led to permanent improvements in airplane design and air safety regulations. The investigation revealed that the crashes were the result of metal fatigue caused by the repeated pressurization and depressurization of the cabin in repeated takeoffs and landings. Using extensive water tank testing, investigators were able to identify the weak areas of the cabin, particularly the square corners of the escape hatch and windows. Repeated stress on these vulnerable points, combined with a flawed riveting technique, had eventually caused the planes to literally blow apart at the seams. This might seem obvious to us in modern times, but pressurization and metal stress were not widely understood in the 1950s, and these tragedies directly led to huge advancements in these areas. De Havilland's American competitors, Boeing and Douglas, would use the findings from this investigation to improve their own commercial jets and go on to dominate the long-distance travel industry. De Havilland wouldn't go down without a fight, though. In 1958, they would again make history when the redesigned Comet 4, this time with rounded windows, made the first transatlantic passenger crossing, beating Pan Am by only a few weeks. Still, de Havilland would never again achieve the same level of aerospace dominance that it enjoyed before the tragedies. It's incredibly unfortunate that so many people had to lose their lives, but the improvements made to commercial jets as a result of these and other air tragedies would undoubtedly save countless lives in the future, as more and more people took to the skies and the jet age really took off. As for you, well, you go on to nurture a lifelong passion for air travel and conquer your fear of flying for good. You become a respected aerospace journalist and take many more flights throughout your life. The more you've learned about airplane design and airline industry safety standards, the more you realize just how safe air travel is. Up to 19 times safer than traveling by car, in fact. Besides, you survived flying on the worst aircraft ever. Check out the video How a 1 in a Billion Chance Brought Down a Whole Airplane. Or you might like this other video instead.